We would like to thank the organizers for excusing in this opportunity to make a presentation on the vision document for the Indian astronomy that is sort of under preparation. So this presentation is on behalf of a working group on gravity that was constituted by the Astronomical Society of India. It involves several people, including many of our colleagues who are here. The motivation for this vision document is that the ASI thought that the Indian astronomical community has reached to a stage in terms of the numbers as well as the impact in the international scene, where it is important to formulate a consensus about the most compelling scientific questions for the next decade or two. And many more so-called advanced societies go through this process, and one example is the Decadal survey in the US, which is used to decide major funding decisions. And even in India, we have had examples of this. A couple of decades ago, the Indian Academy of Sciences commissioned such a vision document, which was sort of led by G. Srinivasan, and I learned in this meeting that was organized by the ASI a couple of months before that this was actually used to make some major decisions by funding agencies like ISRO, etc. So we hope that the ASI is more of a community-driven exercise that will be taken seriously by the funding agencies in the future. This is a broad timeline for this vision document. There was a brainstorming workshop that was organized at ICTS Bangalore last month, which sort of brought together most of the conveners of different groups and several members of these working groups on different topics, which ranges an entire spectrum of areas, starting from stellar physics all the way up to gravity, cosmology, and so on. And we have solicited the community input on various things that would go to this vision document, and that time is sort of ending this month. So the motivation of this presentation is to seek more input on this gravity chapter of this document. And we are supposed to have the first draft of these chapters ready by the end of January, and the first draft of the vision document be presented in the ASI meeting, annual meeting that will be in March. And after that, we will release it for community feedback, and this will undergo reviews, and then the final sort of publication of this document is anticipated later next year. So why this is an ASI effort, the Astronomical Society of India effort. So why are we making this presentation in the IAGRG meeting? The answer is obvious. The man has said it. So these are the sort of topics that we sort of, at least the preliminary list of topics that we hope to cover in this chapter in astrophysics, on gravity, which includes gravitational wave astrophysics across the spectrum of gravitational waves using different techniques, not only using the obvious interferometers like LIGO and its next generation counterparts, but also pulsar timing arrays, polarization of the cosmic microwave background, and new concepts like lunar gravitational detection, etc. Other observational probes of gravity, which includes tests of general relativity, alternative theories, black holes, exotic compact objects, and so on, using a variety of frontiers, including gravitational waves, pulsars, galactic center, very long baseline interferometry using radios like the Event Horizon telescopes, solar system, and so on. This is not an exclusive list. And we will also use gravitational phenomena as tools for astrophysics and cosmology, including gravitational waves, lensing, shadows of compact objects, etc., etc. There are also we would like the community to think about astrophysical signatures of really important questions like, is there any possibility of observing signatures of quantum gravity in astrophysical settings, possibly using gravitational waves, shadows, etc. Things like quantization of the black hole horizon or other possible macroscopic manifestations of the quantum gravity. There are also issues like the equation of state of dense nuclear matter, probing using gravitational waves, radio, X-ray observations, etc. So these are again, we might have missed issues, but topics, and we would like your feedback on these. And a form has been circulated to most of the mailing lists of the Indian community, including the IAGRG, ASI, and other communities of, for example, the gravitational community, etc. And we would like specific inputs on certain questions. For example, what are the most important questions in gravity? That has to have some observational context. One cannot do pure theory, at least in the context of astronomy, that need to be addressed in the next decade or two. Are we missing any important frontiers? Is this a right time to get into some important frontiers that would become a major research area in the next decade or two? Are we missing anything like that? And the observational facilities or experimental facilities or computing facilities that are required to address these problems. At the same time, what are the kind of expertise or skill set or human resources that need to develop to, that would go in tandem with the other large scale or even small scale facilities in observation, experiment, or computing. How do we develop community? Are there better strategies of training students and young scientists, developing the community, connect better to the public through outreach efforts? How do we think of research funding in the changing scenarios? Are there better ways of in some sense lobbying or attracting and research funding, both from the public as well as private research sources of funding? So we would like to think about all these things, and we would like the community input on all of these topics, as well as anything that we might have missed. So there are different ways of giving your input. The preferred form is there is this online form. This is if you have a smartphone, you can scan this QR code and get this link. It will give you a Google link that you can type your answers or responses to specific questions. You can also send us emails to myself or KG Arun or any of the members of the working group. Archana is also leading this working group on the human resources for, again, Indian astronomy, which is also actively seeking input from various communities. And it's important that as a community, the gravity scientists also contribute to this. And please give your inputs to questions of that topic also. The link is here, the corresponding barcode is here. So I'll leave this barcode, this slide for people to take notes, and that's all I need to say. I'm happy to take any questions or comments if there is time. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizers once again for squeezing this in the very busy schedule.
Thank you, Dr. Ajith, for that input. This augurs well for the future of astronomy in India. I would suggest that because of time, questions can be posed to Dr. Ajith at lunch.
Yeah, thank you.
And there's also these portals where one can make input. Before we close, please don't run off.